Hey everyone, and thank you for joining the July 22nd edition of the AAPI GOcast. Joining me this week and every week, as always, are Raphael
Hello.
and Eugene
Hi.
and Bobby.
Hey everyone.
Cool. And we may or may not have a special guest, Brian Wang, joining us from Monarch Defense a little bit later on in the show. But for now, it's just us four, your regular hosts. So let's get started. Hey guys, so anybody gotten any new toys this week? Gone to the range, new ammo, anything like that?
Yeah, I went out to the range this past week with a friend. I was there for pretty much the whole day. Not shooting the whole time for sure, but yeah, I was there for probably the whole day, and it was fun to get out and shoot. I was doing some drills with my handgun for most of the time, just because I'm hoping that they'll approve my concealed and carry request. So if they do, I want to be prepared for that. But yeah,
Cool. And was that at Field Sports out in
yeah,
Sunnyvale or where?
yeah. The field sport, it's like the Metcalf field sport park in the range. Like lots of there's for the pistol range, it's like 7 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards, and then there's for the rifle it's 25, 50, and 100. And then the last Sunday or the last Saturday of every month they have a 200 yard one that's open.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, was the wait very long, or did you have a reservation?
No, I didn't have a reservation. I just went in, and they're all open now. So, I was able to find a spot without having to reserve or anything.
Oh, that's awesome. Have to ask, did they have like a fire limit rule like the Livermore range?
Yeah, they did. It's one every 3 seconds, but there were a couple times that I didn't follow the rule. They didn't get mad or anything. Like all the range masters are really chill, unless you're doing something unsafe. They're real chill.
I always appreciate my local range. I'm good friends with pretty much everyone who works there, and they honestly don't give a fuck as long as you aren't being a danger to yourself or other people. They let me mag dump all day, or at least back when mag dumps didn't cost $10 each. I didn't get any new guns
Nice.
or have any range time recently, but I finally picked up like 250 rounds of 9mm for about $50. So I was very happy with myself for finding a good deal. And once I have enough 5.56 saved up, I'm planning on taking a range trip and hopefully spending some good time behind a gun finally.
That is quite the deal.
There you go.
Did you find it online?
Yes, I did. Simmons Sporting Goods. They're based in Louisiana.
Nice.
They ship to pretty much everywhere except California, and it was very good.
Damn. Yeah, I have I've been kind of practicing with my primary rifle. Been running drills and trying different stuff. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Grand Thumb 6-shot. But from a low ready, uh, you get on target as fast as possible and fire off 6 rounds center mass, keeping all shots within the 8 circle or higher. And you try and do that as fast as you can. So I've been practicing that, slowly been getting better with it, and also a target transition drill, which I am
Nice.
still struggling with a little bit. But you know what they say: slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So
Yeah, I'm really.
At what distance is this drill at?
So the 6-shot is at 7 yards, and the
Cool.
target transition is at 20.
Nice.
Nice. Well, yeah. I mean, for me, I didn't go to the range either, but I did make a really dumb buying decision and got a Desert Eagle. So that'll be fun. I'm definitely planning on bringing that to the range, assuming my 10-day roast jail wait goes through on time. Should be a good time though. I'm looking forward to blowing up a watermelon that I'm going to bring myself.
At the range at
Yeah,
Brian's range.
I'm not asking permission. I'm just doing it. I'll bring a tarp.
You know what they say, sometimes it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Exactly. That's what I'm banking on, and so I have to go sneak off in the corner somewhere and just use a blue tarp and a watermelon on a pike or something. So be it. But it's it's kind of weird. Like if you ever try to buy a Desert Eagle in California, there's like a California specific version, which is basically the same thing, only it only has 44 mag as opposed to 50 cal. And there's no rail on that particular barrel. Um, and it's like if you get the gun shipped with any of the other barrels, which are like it's Magnum Research sells a kit where they have like 50 cal, 357 mag, and then 429, I think, is the other one. And you can totally buy that, and it's perfectly legal to buy in California. But it's like if you get the gun shipped to you with one of those barrels on it, it's suddenly illegal. So it's like you have to get it shipped to you with the 40 mag gimped version on there, and then it's okay. So many little odd loopholes in this state.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous of you guys because you can actually like just buy a pistol and you don't have to get permission from your local sheriff. And if you have more than 5, they start frowning at you.
Wait, what do they do?
So New York State,
if you have more than
New York
5?
State has a pistol permitting system, and not only do you have to have a permit to own a pistol, you also have to get approval every time you buy one. And most counties, or pretty much all counties, have specific limits on the number of pistols you're allowed to own. So most places don't let you own more than 3. And
That's crazy that you have to get subsequent approvals.
right, and then
Like that's
the other part of
insane.
it is that you are also not allowed to legally fire a pistol unless you have a permit for pistols. So even if you go to a range and rent one, you can't. You are not allowed to legally fire a pistol in New York State unless you are a valid permit holder.
That is really terrible. I mean, I thought we had it bad because we have this ridiculous handgun roster, whereby you have the weird, Desert Eagle issue, and then also like you can only buy Gen 3 Glocks. Most Walthers aren't in the menu, but having to get a permit every single time you buy one, that
Yeah.
just sucks.
No, and it
Is it the-
usually takes about 6 months for approval to go through to buy a new one. So you can buy one, wait 6 months before you get approval, if you do, and then finally take it home. Yep.
Wow. Is it the same for
No,
rifles?
rifles, no waiting period. You can walk in, walk out same day.
Oh, even like
Oh yeah,
ARs
totally.
and stuff?
We don't. So as long as it follows the assault weapons ban here, you can just buy it and take it home.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same here. It's just we have the the gimping, fin grip requirement for ARs and like barrel.
Yeah,
length
we
and
have
stuff.
we have pretty similar laws, except that you can't really have bullet buttons here. That's not allowed.
I think that's banned in California as well.
Oh, did
the bullet
they
button.
fix that?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I think the San Bernardino shooting that happened a couple of years ago had something to do with that.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to moving out of state where I can not even have to buy at a gun shop, just either purchase or 3D print whatever I want. And as long as it complies with federal laws, I'm good to go.
Oh wow, yeah. That's another weird loophole. Well, I mean, I won't call it
Another
a loophole,
weird
we private party sales are
in California
fine here. Actually, I mean, you just
What?
Yeah, you just have to get a background check.
No.
They have to be done through an FFL.
So in Tennessee, where I am moving sooner than later, hopefully, you don't even need a background check for private party sales. All you need is basically due diligence is up to you. So, for example, if you're 18 in Tennessee and you'd like to buy a handgun, you can buy it from a friend or a family member. And then if you're a felon or you're otherwise legally prohibited, that's on them.
Got
Super
it.
cool.
Well, what if like somebody uses it in a crime though?
If somebody
Kinda
uses it
curious.
in a crime, that's not on you. If they aren't legally prohibited from having it,
Okay.
then you're good to go. If they use it in a crime afterwards and you had no knowledge of this and you can demonstrate that, it's not your problem. You committed a
Oh, that's
legal
good.
action.
Yeah, I mean, how very adult of them to allow you to just make sure that if you're selling to a felon, then the problem's on you. That's actually
Yeah, at this point, I'm pretty sure Tennessee is refusing to
progressive,
legalize
dare
weed
I
just to
say.
keep Californians from moving there.
It's not a bad idea.
I mean, hey, if it works, it works.
Yeah, it's I mean that is an interesting, roundabout way of like you can get off-roster guns in California, but it has to be someone who moved here with the gun and they got it, legally transferred, or law enforcement and military are exempt from the roster, I believe. And so like you can go onto calguns.net and do a private party transfer there. But the prices are ridiculous. Like, I mean, I was looking into, seeing if I could get a Walther PPQ, and it's like they retail for 7, and like people are asking like 2,500 for them. So it's like it's kind of not worth it unless you're just like
All
super
right, so
desperate.
I'm moving to Tennessee, then I'm moving to California for 3 months.
That's a great idea. If you could
This
get
will be
residency here, then
$30,000
yes,
per gun. All right, I'm pretty sure
not
that
a bad
one.
hustle.
Yeah, I don't know. If I moved out there for work for a little while, I could see it happening.
Yes, I cannot legally or support you or comment, but Godspeed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out of this particular hellhole, but I'm also looking forward to being in California. Oddly enough, I never thought I'd say that.
I feel that California is one of those places that if you ignore the laws that make it an issue, like just physically, it's a
Oh
beautiful
yeah,
state.
California is an absolutely gorgeous place, and it's amazing that they've been able to ruin it. Like New York, there's no redeeming factors here, except for the Adirondacks, where nobody actually follows the laws anyway, which is kind of why they're so awesome. But no, New York is a sad place.
Yeah, I understand
Yeah,
that. I mean, people always say that Philadelphia is the worst part of Pennsylvania. So
I mean, I actually really like Erie.
it's kind of funny how the large
Erie's a
cities
nice
are.
town.
yes,
I enjoy it there whenever I go down. Then the supercharger is right next to a Chick-fil-A, so I can always get my waffle fries in peace.
Nice. Yeah, that's what always bums me out about Portland because I mean, like growing up, it was such a nice city. I mean, it was like big. I mean, not too big, but you have skyscrapers and it was just full of lumberjacks and hippies. And then all of a sudden, in the late 2000s, mid 2000s, you started getting weird anarchists and stuff like that coming in there, and they just completely ruined the place along with the politics. So
Unfortunately, the hippies turned
it's a
into
bummer.
Karens, and yeah,
Basically, yeah.
it
I know it's sort of like
rough.
the original '60s hippies turned into yuppies in the '80s, and then the rebellion was to basically turn into a hippie in the '90s, and then they turned into Karen. So it's a
I
vicious
mean,
cycle.
I'm pretty sure all the original hippies are either old stone actually, or they've turned into hardcore libertarians.
Yep, hardcore libertarians are they just completely sold out. It's one of the
Yeah,
two.
I mean, if you want hardcore libertarianism,
Thanks,
just move to New
boomers.
Hampshire. Their motto is "Live free or die," and they follow it.
I've heard good things. I've always wanted to visit, just New England, the East Coast in general. I mean, I've been to New York, like, and Chicago. That doesn't really count. That's Midwest. But,
Yeah, so
I
the New England is interesting because Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont are all actually pretty good states. Despite Bernie Sanders coming from Maine, he's not exactly a party line Democrat, and I can appreciate him more than some. But Vermont is a traditionally written constitution. So they actually do have magazine size limits, but that's the only real gun control they have there. And they have had constitutional carry legal throughout their entire state's history.
So I guess basically from now on we have to refer to Portland, Maine as the good Portland.
Yeah, Maine is actually a great state. People pretty much leave each other alone, and also constitutional carry. New Hampshire, constitutional carry, and I think it's constitutional carry at 8. Me on that. I believe it's one of the only states to do that. Also, if you want to get a non-resident carry permit, New Hampshire is the place to go, or Utah.
Nice.
That's right. Yeah. So
nice.
New England isn't that bad. New York is.
Well, speaking of interstate travel, that's a nice segue into the news section. Just wanted to remind everybody about our event coming up on 7/31, and if Brian is able to make it on the podcast either this time or early next week or something like that, we'll love to give you guys his thoughts on the event and everything. Be sure to check out our bonus episode from last week. We basically posted audio versions of all of his safety videos and like pre-event instructions. But yeah, overall, just really looking forward to meeting you all in person. And having some fun out in the high desert of San Jose.
I got to be honest, I'm really looking forward to humiliating myself with my poor shooting skills. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing I'm looking forward to second most, other than meeting you folks, is my dastardly plan to shoot a watermelon with 50 cal. And hopefully not, get eaten by a rattlesnake in the process.
I'm kind of planning to one-hand the largest pistol I can find and see how much more fucked up I can get my carpal tunnel. Let's go.
Question: will you be bringing your World War II pistol there, Scott?
Oh, which one?
Either
the
one.
P38? Oh yeah,
Lugers?
sure.
Oh.
I don't have a Luger. I just
I
have
know.
a P38.
I know a kid who.
I want to buy one, but like they always look like rusted and really bad shape. And if they're in good shape, they're like $13,000.
Yeah, out down south, I actually know a guy who concealed carries a Luger.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's not necessarily old enough to be doing that either, but he does, and it is kind of badass.
I mean, hey, if it works for him, it works for him, right?
I mean, you can't tell, and that thing's chunky. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. I'm gonna request that you have people one hand shoot the P38 with one arm behind their back.
Yeah. Hey, why not? That's one of the things where I regret that my grandpa was in the Air Force during World War II because he didn't have the opportunity to pick anything off of dead Nazis and bring it home.
Yeah, he just caused the dead Nazis to happen, which is fine by me.
Basically, yeah, exactly, and maybe some wear and tear on those heirlooms brought home over, but. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what mine is. There, it has the import like soldier stamp, where it's some kind of designation. My MFL was saying that basically they got boosted off of a dead person somewhere. So that's
taken off
creepy.
a drought, and I use that term advisedly.
Yes, exactly. Well, yeah, that's the only good one, right? Anyway, moving on to other news that is not from the 20th century. There was a study that The Guardian in the UK put out last week that actually correlated what we pretty much all know, that gun crime rise is not actually linked to increased sales. They found that basically by a study of purchasers, I think NSFF was involved in this study and a couple of other venues, but essentially long take is pandemic gun violence surge was not linked to the rise in gun sales, and the research suggests looking at the role of job loss, economic change, closure of schools, and community organizations and general civil unrest for the rise in gun violence in the country. Who'da thunk?
Yeah. So
I feel like it's wrong to be so happy to be so right.
I'm going to be very interested in seeing the defensive gun usage statistics for 2020 as well, because those are going to come out eventually, and I'm very, very curious. Because I know of several defensive gun usage incidents. I had my own in 2020. Of course, unreported because no shots were. And I'm very curious to see how this is gonna play out because, yeah, I suspect that pretty much none of those new gun owners were going out and shooting people.
Yep,
Yeah,
and I know we cited like statistics from a couple weeks ago where it was an FBI study I believe that we posted. It's on the website, but it's basically just stating that the average time before gun purchase and use in a crime is about 9 years on average, which kind of indicates most of them are stolen.
Stolen or third party sold. Basically, nobody's going to an
Yep.
FFL, buying a gun, and then using it in a crime. That's very, very uncommon.
Yep.
There is a case that
it's around 7%.
I did read about a case where that happened. So this one guy, this kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier. So there were a bunch of shootings in this city, and they were all 50 caliber. And so the police did a little bit of searching, went to FFLs, dug up some 4.473s, and they found out that one 50 cal Desert Eagle had been sold in the last 5 years. And so they went to the guy's house who did it, and turns out he was a drug lord and was pissed off at a lot of people. But that was the owner of that. It's such an impractical gun to use that the only one that had been sold recently was the one.
Please tell me it was the gold-plated tiger
It was
stripe
gold-plated,
version.
yes. Oh yes,
nice.
Dang, you guessed it.
I mean,
No.
is it really a 50 cal deagle if it's not gold-plated?
Somehow, even
Yeah,
without having asked it,
agree.
that's the deagle that I had imagined.
Gold-plated deagle. I mean, everybody's
Yep.
seen demo ranches. That's the one you have to have. Although it's technically
I
not
know.
gold,
Mine's
it's
black.
titanium nitride. Scott, you have to get it coated.
I know. I need to find a good, reputable place to get it titanium nitride coated. I have looked into it. The problem is no one seems to do the tiger stripes in addition to that.
It doesn't
so
matter.
I'm still on the
Solid
hunt for-
titanium nitride is fine, and also it makes the gun smooth. It's actually pretty amazing.
and shiny.
I think it's worth it.
Yeah. Or at the very least, the barrels and hardware. So, you can at least keep it for a little while other parts of it are in the shop.
That's right. And so this article.
Yep. The only thing I would add to the rise in gun crime thing, there is a little bit of a disturbing trend where it seems like Gavin Newsom and Andrew Cuomo are both trying to claim the opposite recently with some of their recent rhetoric and tweets that are coming out indicating that we have a gun pandemic. That was kind of a late breaking one that I didn't put in the article, but Gavin Newsom said that in a press conference the other day that we're facing a gun related pandemic now.
I think
so. They need to read the study.
They're making
they
a category error. The problem isn't guns. The problem is the people. And access to guns, removing all access to guns might fix it. But the fact of the matter is that's unrealistic. And doing that through legal channels will just take away guns from people who are law abiding and actually raise violence. And I think that argument is pretty well worn out because it's a good one. There is absolutely a gun violence epidemic, but I wouldn't call it a gun epidemic. I
totally agree. And I mean, even the study says that it's like if there was like an epidemic that Gavin, like the one that Gavin Newsom is saying, like the rate of shooting should be increased at the same rate that guns are being bought,
and somehow they're not,
which was not the case. But however, there were increases of domestic violence cases where like the injury was caused by a firearm. So like the study said that there may be a correlation there, but other than that, like it's the rate that gun violence had in comparative of sales Of firearms was in no
Yeah,
way
and I would
like
assume that
correlated.
firearm suicides rose as well, simply because people tend to commit suicide with the most convenient tool available to them. Assuming they're male, there's some interesting gender disparities in suicide statistics, at least in terms of methodology. Yeah, but I can appreciate what Cuomo and Newsom are trying to do, which I would assume, assuming they're acting in good faith, which is probably stupid. I would assume they want gun violence to go down, but they're unfortunately beholden to their parties and cannot actually get to the real cause, which is the massive spike in poverty, disenfranchisement, and general anger at a variety of institutions that people have been experiencing. And I think that's much more the root cause back here. And um, there's a moving on, I guess.
Yes, moving on, but still.
On why California's firearms law is failing. And this is the one where they have a list of people who currently own firearms who should not.
Yeah, exactly. California passed a law about 2 decades ago requiring a registry of felons and prohibited persons who shouldn't possess firearms. So, and essentially, that's one of the databases that you get checked against when you do a new firearm purchase in California. And I guess that it's also somewhat of the reason for delay because Nix is basically instant, but this takes potentially a little bit longer
Nix
from what
is
I've heard.
supposed to be instant.
Yeah.
I have known people whose Nix checks have taken over 15 days.
Yeah, I had heard that, like, especially during the peak of last year, like, there was a bit of a backlog.
It's a poorly designed system, and
like, I had to wait 19
it's a poorly
days.
designed system, and I have some choice words for their database ad.
I think they make it purposely complicated because, I mean, it's just like, how can you possibly organize that amount of physical paper and then run a system without, having a good, solid, like, tech stack
because
behind
it's
it?
government, and government is not
Well, yeah,
competent
true.
as a rule.
It's like the DMV.
I think
Yes.
I forget the razor, what the term for the saying is, but don't attribute to malice what you can just as easily attribute to incompetence.
Good old Hanlon. Yep.
Hanlon's razor.
Hanlon and his razor. Yep.
For Occam myself, but
yeah, that's another good one. Just in general, the razors are good rules to live your life by.
So this law essentially is stupid.
Yeah, and it all comes down to enforcement because, essentially there's, according to the article, about like 24,000 people on the list, and it's just essentially impossible for them to really, effectively check against it or update it. And also kind of explains why a lot of mass shooters are somehow able to get their hands on guns because of the backlog. Hypothetically, the person who carried out the horrible shooting in San Jose should have been barred from buying a handgun based on his past activity, but due to this backlog, they didn't show up in the database. So, long story short, don't trust government to come up with any sort of a database or record because they're just gonna.
It seems like a good idea on the surface until you realize that government is incompetent, and if you don't try, the DMV doesn't work, and I see no reason why this would work either. I can go into the libertarian ideology behind why government is inherently disincentivized to do anything that actually serves citizens. But that's a story for another time. Essentially, a gun control law failing to actually protect people, and this is one that seems to be a good idea on its face. And if they can't even enforce the good ones properly, I don't see why to trust them with the ones that could be considered malicious.
Exactly. And well, I mean, it's like, I just never get why people don't buy or like contract with Google or somebody who knows what they're doing to create a database like this. It always has to be like a no bid government contract to, these parasitic agencies that do nothing but bid on government contracts that really don't have a business and wouldn't be able to float on their own in the private sector. Uh, Always running these programs. I mean, it's just like look at the database for Obamacare. It didn't work because it was government workers trying to code this thing. And it's like you really expect that they're going to do a good job with something as important as firearms? Yeah, I don't think
now
so.
this next one is a little bit close to home. So there is a Supreme Court challenge that the Supreme Court has accepted to the New York State may issue carry regime. So New York State, like California, is a may issue state, and in our case, county clerk or the local sheriff and county clerk may turn down your application for a permit to carry for any reason. The same goes for a license to own a pistol. And they also may strike that down or strike down your application for any reason. So NAGA is the National African American Gun Association. And they are generally, if I may use this term, based. They very much agree with us and most reasonable gun owners on gun laws. All of them are an infringement. And they have released a scathing statement and filed a brief supporting this case against the law this previous Monday. And Joe Biden has said things like an amendment from the beginning. There have been certain people who were not allowed to own guns, and he is correct. And those people were generally black and brown or indigenous. And I don't want to read the entire statement because it is long and has big words in it, and I don't trust my lisp right now. But essentially, they harkened back to that and pointed out that New York's discretionary licensing scheme is in that it may not be explicitly racist, but it enables any racist individual within that system to systematically discriminate on a massive scale against one of the most important rights we have here in America. I would be very happy if this is referenced in the final ruling because it is an excellent statement, and it really just does a solid job deconstructing the idea that New York's law is in any way not racist.
I mean, there is that statement that all, especially more modern gun control laws, are rooted in racism. If not intentionally, then it unequally affects minorities more than others.
Yeah, so I can actually give a little bit of history on that. So the big one that we all know about, the Gun Control Act, or the NFA. No, the NFA. The big one.
Yeah,
the big one that is really annoying and killed Randy Weaver. So that was deeply rooted in anti-Italian sentiment, because guess who the mob was at the time? It was actually quite Italian, but that was why it was able to pass, is because of Americans' prejudice against Italians at the time. The next big one, the Gun Control Act of 1968, really wasn't racism. That was a knee-jerk reaction about Lee Harvey Oswald being able to order a gun, despite being a known communist sympathizer. And so they just decided to ban mail ordering guns, period. Which, I mean, whatever. That one's not one of the more horrifying ones.
Right. I mean, not that he would have been stopped by having to go to an FFL, but
and then
you never know.
One of the other big
examples
is California's open carry ban. That was put into place
right
after the Black
Act.
Panthers started marching on various government buildings. And people didn't like that. Black people having guns was not acceptable to them. So they banned it.
Yep, especially not the Gipper.
Yep.
And the NRA, I think they also supported that as well.
The NRA did support that. Reagan supported that. Reagan was not good for guns, and I'm very unhappy with him for that.
Yeah, another one that may be a bit more relevant to our kind of playhouse here is the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 and the subsequent laws banning Asians and Asian Americans from purchasing firearms within California.
That is
Um,
explicitly racist and horrifying.
yeah, there was a even a propaganda campaign calling Asians the Yellow Menace, equating us to savages who, if armed, would slaughter and rape the white residents of California during the original gold
I've
rush.
got to say, stereotypes about Asians have really changed.
Oh yeah,
That's it's disgusting, but it's also really weird to like hear that. Like that's
I know.
it's the opposite of every racist comment I ever heard growing up.
Yeah, there's a. I'll have to look up the name of the title there, but Brian at Monarch Defense had mentioned there's a really good book out on the subject of the Chinese Exclusion Act in California in particular, and there's all sorts of things like there's banning wooden buildings from operating businesses within city limits was directly designed to essentially like stop Chinese from owning their own businesses outside of Chinatown, and apparently in San Jose. That became a target and got burned to the ground at one point. And there was some, actually some armed resistance from what he was telling me about, just Chinese immigrants trying to, defend their property. And then additional gun laws passed immediately after that within San Jose in particular.
Actually don't know if the rooftop Koreans were met with any legal resistance.
they
Okay.
did them for one of my history classes in college. Something that not a lot of people knew is that while the rooftop Koreans were kind of a individual effort by store owners and shopkeepers to protect their own buildings, there was also a movement where a lot of the kind of more well-connected and well-known members of the Asian and Korean community made a kind of dispatch station to receive reports and requests for assistance in different areas or different locations.
That is super cool.
The main reason for this, as we all know, was because the National Guard and LAPD left pretty much Koreatown out to dry. What they decided to then do was, after hearing the reports of these Korean store owners and Korean citizens, or Korean American citizens being dispatched to protect these areas, the National Guard and LAPD would then intercept them and arrest them.
Huh. Well, that's rude.
Yeah, that's a little bit of an ouchie.
Within bird person culture, what we would call a dick move.
Yeah, and so they were perfectly fine letting their buildings get burned down and destroyed, and their livelihoods looted. But as soon as a group of armed, concerned citizens decided to start protecting their own property and helping out their neighbor, like every American should, the law came down on them.
Huh. Remember, people.
Yep. Well, that kind of segues into the next article, actually. National Review actually has an article out that's kind of similar to this about the racist reality of gun control, which definitely check that out. It's a really well thought out article, and shout out to National Review for being one of the only conservative publications to not drink the Trump Kool-Aid. So, off my political soapbox there.
National Review has really, just on a sidebar here, National Review has been really solid, just in general for the last 5 or 6 years. They've called it how they see it. When somebody across the aisle or who they don't like does something good or bad, they'll call them on it regardless, and they will, say positive things about people they obviously don't like, and vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, bucket list would be wonderful if we could ever get Charles C.W. Cook on the podcast. He's British, but also National Review's online editor, and he's extremely pro Second Amendment, which is really, it's interesting to hear his perspective on their podcast, which is, I think, called The Editor sometimes, because, he went from being, in England, hearing all the stories about scary Americans to coming over here and realizing, wow, actually the Second Amendment exists for a reason, and now he's got several firearms and became a U.S. citizen. It's kind
I
of a
feel
cool
like he
story.
just kind of moved here and was like, "Oh, this is cool. Okay, I'm done."
Yeah. I mean, that's all it really takes is just like, I mean, that's what did it for me. I mean, like, I was intimidated about firing an AR-15, and then I shot one. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I need to buy one now.
So one of my favorite things at work is having new shooters come in, like people who have never touched a gun, people who have never even thought about like firing a gun.
Yeah.
And if they're nice and they're polite and they say their please and thank yous and they're generally a wonderful customer, well, throw them a bone, let them try some interesting stuff. And one of my favorite things is seeing the smile on people's faces when they fire like a registered machine gun or when they try out an FRT. And like
Yep.
as they kind of build up to these bigger and bigger things, just that look of joy that pops on their face makes my heart feel so good.
Yeah, I hear you. That was like the best thing, honestly, of like taking my mom out to the range for the first time, and then my nephew too. I mean, he just had the biggest grin on his face with the P365 alone. But like, I mean, you should have seen him with the Uzi. That was just like the happiest I have seen him look as a sullen teenager in years. Which it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think another aspect of it is seeing that kind of fear break down. We'll have some people who come in and they'll be like covering their ears or they'll feel really nervous. And then whenever we do the safety class and the demonstration with like snap caps, they're still like very nervous and fidgety. But when you walk them in and you cycle them through and you get them to fire off a few rounds and they get more used to it, just seeing that wall kind of melt away and them get a lot more into it is also a great feeling.
Yeah, whenever I start a new shooter, if I can, I start them on a 308, just so that they can actually like experience what real recoil feels like. And after that, to them, everything else seems really gentle. That might just be my
Yeah, I
my
kind of had a
sadist
similar.
side, but
Yeah, I the first thing I ever shot was a 40 S and W, and then it's like after that 9mm felt fine.
yeah, that would mess you up a little bit. The first pistol I ever shot was a Ruger LCP in 380, and I'm kind of sad because I thought all pistols were gonna be like, oh, okay, this is pretty simple. I was able to hit some 25-yard targets, and 1911, and no.
Yeah, I still have yet to be able to find some 45 for my Colt 1911 that I just got. So continue to scour looking for that online. That seems to be the one that hasn't like gone back in stock for some reason. It's like 9mm is pretty easy to find, 223, even like 7.62 by 39. They're all pretty easy to find now, but like no 45
Yeah,
anywhere.
the ammo that we've had the most difficulty keeping in stock is 45, 40. We've had some luck recently with some 5.56 and 223. That's, kind of here and there, but anything that is at 9 or 12 gauge, we have not been able to get like regular shipments of.
Yeah, there's a lot of 1911s, and people don't buy them much anymore, but there's a ton out there, and people shoot them a lot. And I think it's kind of understated, the sheer number of just old wheel guns and old 1911s that we have here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I remember like one of our earlier podcasts, somebody's talking about Appleseed and one of the there was an organization where you could get a free M1 Grand, which is just war surplus. And for a while before gun sales started spiking in 2008, they had tons of 1911s. They were, by having a Curiosum Relics license, you could just get a very heavily discounted one. So those are all still out there, but they kind of blew through them during the Obama administration, and haven't really gotten replenished. But yeah, I guess in 10 years or so, then maybe they'll start getting the M9s and Berettas in the mix as CNRs, and I don't expect those to last long either.
Yeah, the Beretta M9 is one of my favorite full-size pistols. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, I love mine. That was my first official gun that I actually wanted. I mean, as you probably know, I had to get a Springfield XD because that was the only 9mm that was available last year during the pandemic. But the original gun that I bought that got stuck in limbo with all the gun stores closed was a Enox Beretta 92 FS. Which I lost, but ended up being able to find a black one pretty soon thereafter. I think like April-ish last year,
Yeah.
and it is gorgeous.
Yeah, so I've shot a Beretta M92. I forget the full name of it, and it's lovely because it's so big and heavy that the recoil you can't feel it.
Oh yeah, not at all. I mean, it's like that's probably my most accurate gun because there is like zero recoil with it whatsoever, and it's like if you put a light on there, it's
just
like
it's huge,
even better recoil wise. It's like it's just gigantic.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, the Desert Eagle is fat and long, and this is just it's a thin, chunky boy basically.
I have a friend who's he's a slight of frame and figure. He's maybe 5'7" and maybe weighs 140, and he daily concealed carries a Beretta M9, and it's absolutely a marvel to behold. I don't understand how he does it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw like a picture of God, I forgot who. Might have been Ludacris or somebody like out in Colorado, like basically just open carrying a Beretta M9.
I mean, for open carry, they look great. They're cop guns. They're fantastic. But concealed carrying one, that's actually a challenge. And I'm built in such a way that nothing conceals well on me. So it is sad.
It's that's the advantage of having extra padding, known as being overweight. Sometimes very easy to hide stuff in cargo shorts.
I'm envious of anybody's ability to be capable of that. I have to spend a lot of money on food to gain enough weight to tip the scales at all. Yeah.
Yeah, it creeps up on you after 35 for some reason. I don't know what's happened.
I don't know. My dad, he's getting up there, and he's 6'6", and he's never weighed over 160 a day in his life.
Yeah, it sounds like my grandpa, who's like an ex-Marine, and like same thing, but it was like 165, like pure wiry muscle because he's a plumber. Yep. It's just, I mean, do not try to. Well, I mean, he passed away, but like arm wrestling that man, you would pretty much just get your wrist broken. I mean, it was just not even worth it.
Maybe we're actually related because that sounds like my grandpa. All right. All right. And the next one is also close to home.
Yes, I figured I would let you handle this lovely story.
Nice pun. So, Rochester has a mayor. That's the town I live near. They have a mayor named Lovely Warren. She is not lovely. Let's put it that way. She's been the mayor for like 10 years now. Everyone hates her. She kept winning somehow. Thankfully, we have a new mayor incoming on January 1st who kind of grew up in the hood here. Really solid guy. Malik Evans, he's absolutely fantastic. I met him once or twice. Just solid dude. Yeah, so our mayor, our current mayor until next year, is a dumpster fire has been started surrounding her. So last year, it was discovered that her husband was dealing drugs and had some illegal guns. They also had a unregistered assault weapon. So an AR-15 that was, and the really a Kelty 40, which is exactly the kind of gun you'd buy off of somebody for cheap that when you don't know anything about guns. The Keltec P40, generally don't buy Keltec pistols unless it's a P3AT or a P50. But the P40 is like this little concealed carry 40 caliber gun that's not very good and has an awful trigger. And anyway, so they're being indicted on multiple felony counts as well as failure to lock or secure firearms in a dwelling. And then her husband's also facing cocaine charges. Democrats, they know how to run your cities.
It
Yep.
makes sense
Well,
now
I mean,
why these cities also have a lot of criminal problems because they might be run by criminals.
Oh yeah. And then she's also being indicted on campaign finance violations. There's a whole it's a whole
Yep.
thing, and it's not very fun if you live out here because it's just a whole bunch of tension and it's pretty stupid.
Well, and I think I also saw in the report that she got nailed on child endangerment charges.
That's
So
still
that
up in
is,
the
you know,
air.
essentially.
Yeah, it's a whole thing and a half. Anyway,
Well, yeah, I heard it was like about locking and securing your firearms. You
yeah,
know, so
there's
essentially
some
just
legal
having them out.
requirement to do that here. I keep mine locked up because I'm not stupid, but yeah, it's funny.
It is funny. Also funny in the world of hypocrisy brings us to our next story. Moms demand action. We talked about them last week, and apparently, Shannon Watts Watts is a little bit racist. So I guess the Nazi librarian analogy that we had last week was kind of appropriate. She was quoted on Twitter after a Washington Post article came out saying the following: an irresponsible advertisement from the Washington Post for firearms and essentially a call to action for non-white men to
We
buy
can't
guns.
have that, can we?
There's not a no, we certainly can't have that. I guess that's not the type of action she is demanding from people of color.
Wait, single action or double action? Okay.
Ooh,
Before I get myself in
kinky.
trouble, the rest of the
Hey,
tweet is
she's demanding action. She never specified what kind.
I mean, double stack or single stack. I mean, hey.
If you do want to find out more about Moms Demand Action, I recommend you go to momsdemand.org. Great website, really good resources there. Just take a look at momsdemand.org. Fantastic website. I love their content. It is excellent. The rest of the tweet is basically whining about a lack of statistics in the article, which is, I mean, it's really post. I don't know how just complaining about it too much. I've read the article. It's not an advertisement. It's explaining why some previously anti-gun Americans have bought guns to protect themselves. Yep. So I'm glad they're exercising their Second Amendment right. I hope they learn more about guns and why they're important and maybe join the movement.
Exactly, and you know the fun thing is we're officially blocked by Shannon Watts
Hell
at
yes.
this point. Yep, it's great. I mean, I cited a couple of the articles that AAPI Go is featured in, along with Pink Pistols and NAGA and Latino Rifle Association. That CNN article in response to this at one point, and yeah, we are officially blocked for bringing up counter evidence.
Yeah, Shannon Watts. I don't want to say anything too mean because I feel like it's punched on the legend. She's stupid. I feel like that's
Yeah, I think I had read somewhere that Moms Demand Action actually got founded when she was not herself a mother.
Really? She have to have kids to maintain her image.
I guess so. I mean, it was like it was founded almost immediately after the Newtown shooting, which horrible event. But it's like you're kind of founding it. And you're not a mom yourself. Well, a little bit.
Yeah, she was actually born in New York.
Oh, nice.
Or resident of this town.
Yes. Many. It sounds like I had always heard that Rochester was like a really lovely place. Like, but
if
sounds
you
like
like food, it's a great foodie town. We've got some great beer up here, but pretty much visit and then leave. Get out.
Kind of like Kansas City.
Don't stay. Leave.
Yeah, Kansas City. I mean, amazing barbecue. I loved all of that, but yeah. Other than that, I've heard it's not the best.
If you want to live actually good, live in Tennessee, Georgia, Florida. If you're into that kind of thing. Those are the really good ones. Or Texas, if you'd like to, keep it from flipping blue, so we can still have some balance in our electoral system. Don't move to Kansas.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's a move either to Texas or Nevada if you support gun rights there, because I think they are a very light purple, and hopefully, if enough stupid policies get passed, then people will, boot the crazy folks out of office, or at least get a balance in the state legislature. I mean, 50-50 is kind of the ideal for me.
But I'm
Unlike
serious.
California.
Go to momsdemand.org. Oh no, it got taken down. No.
Oh,
no, it's still up.
Momsdemand.org?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it is. Oh, yes. What a nice website this is.
Oh, man. Now I have to check. Do I need to turn on safe search?
No, you don't. Go to momsdemand.org. It's I wouldn't call it safe for work, but it's not safe for work.
Yes, that's a very good way to put it.
Don't visit it at work, but it's
Nice.
safe to let your children see.
Ah, well, there you
Yes.
go. I mean, the lines are blurred with COVID, but nice. That is fun.
What a great website this is.
Check it out.
Momsdemand.org. Just remember that. It's a great site.
Very cool. I can see why this appeals
Yes,
to you.
I believe you. I believe you could. This makes me very happy.
Well, speaking of happiness, I guess we are done with the news for the week. So, I guess we can go on to the weird gun of the week, which, Raph, I believe you had something in mind for that.
I did. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what we've covered before, because there's some weird ones that I
think it was the
feel
Mossberg,
like
right?
we did the Mossberg last week, didn't we?
We did the 590M, but not the one you were talking about.
Yes. The I believe the Magpul FMG9.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, Magpul accessories.
Yeah,
FMG9. I did not know that Magpul actually made their own firearms. I thought they were just always like accessories.
So if
for
you own a
Mossberg.
modern gun, you've probably heard of Magpul. They make a lot of firearms accessories. What most people don't know is that I've ventured firearms manufacturing in the past, and they made a folding SMG. It was it fit into maybe the size of like an iPad mini, but narrower and taller. It folded up into like a block, and it was a little personal defense weapon. Or
that's adorable.
Yeah, it's really cute, really scary, super cool, and unfortunately never reached production. There was a couple famous demo videos where the guy's like, "Oh, this totally fits in your back pocket," and it kind of half fits in your back pocket. But it's a fully functional SMG that will fit in a large pocket.
Well, I'm looking at images on Google right now. It looks like it folds up into like a little lunch pail with a flashlight on it.
So basically a big flashlight. So the specs are a bit interesting. It was chambered in 9x19, took Glock mags. But it also 1200 RPM rate of fire.
That's fast.
Nice.
That's very fast. It's quick. It's relatively standard for a smaller SMG, especially in 9mm. But that's a lot of rounds very quickly. Very, very cool little gun. I'm very sad that it never reached production. It would be great to just like have as a truck gun. Imagine just leaving that in your cup holder. You can just like have a very nice personal defense weapon. Much more accurate than a pistol, therefore much safer because you're much less likely to miss. And it also looks cool as shit. Yeah. Unfortunately, it never reached production.
Yeah, that's... I mean, I wonder if there are like prototypes like floating out there, just...
Yeah, it seems to be a spiritual successor to the PP90, which is a similar folding SMG. It's very, very Russian. Yeah. Doesn't have a single fire option. It's safe or full auto.
That looks... I'm looking that one up too. It looks like some sort of weird lock. or like a
Well,
I don't know. It looks like a piece of
it's
hardware or a
just
frame or
simple to
something.
do. And then there was also a Eugene Stoner also designed one, or Stoner's Eugene Stoner, the designer of the AR-15's company, also designed one that was very similar. Seems like Magpul is the only one who followed through in America, but they didn't actually manufacture it. Very sad. But hey, it is what it is. Maybe one day when I start an FFL, I'll design and actually make one. But we'll see. Yeah, but I
Life
believe
goals.
that's all we really have for this week. We've run out of items on the agenda. It's been an interesting few weeks.
Yep.
There's some very nice Supreme Court cases coming up, and things are looking up a bit.
Does seem that way. I just hope that they hear it, the concealed carry ban sooner rather than later, and hopefully some other ones coming down the pike. But yeah, well, I mean, I think that's it there because we don't have any audience in the Q&A section. So if you are listening to the podcast, just want to remind you that we do meet live every week on Discord. And I will put the Discord link in the show notes because I know there's we have actually about like 100 people that are listening to the podcast every week, which is pretty cool. I just don't know who the hell they are or where they're coming from. So if you want to drop us a line and let us know like where you're finding us, that'd be awesome. It's info@aapigo.net. And then also would really appreciate it if you left us glowing 5-star reviews on iTunes, Spotify, or Google, or wherever you get your podcast. But yeah, other than that, thank you for listening. And if you're headed to our 731 event, looking forward to seeing you there. It's been the AAPI GOcast, and we will see you next time, y'all.